All right. Hello and welcome, everyone. Today's video is part of the ongoing effort to expand the public archive, which you can check out at brozime.com. I'm developing the public archive to be an all-in-one, easy-to-use guide for new and returning Warframe players. If you'd like to get early access to the project notes in progress, or to provide feedback or new ideas for the public archive, you can become a member on Patreon, or additionally, subscribe on Twitch. Thanks so much to all of my current subs and patrons for supporting the project. Now let's jump into the video. All right. Hello and welcome, everyone. So today we are going to be doing another new player guide discussing farming focus and also getting some Zaramon reputation on the side for new players. A lot of players do not farm focus, as they are some of the most prohibitive activities that have the least payoff in general without heavy investment in order to get the amount of focus that you would need to invest in the system and get relevant skills for yourself. And if you're looking to get relevant skills for yourself, I am going to have a priority leveling list out soon for you guys to follow, but I wanted to discuss actually how to get focus points first. And this, I feel like, is going to be the best entry point for players that are lower end on gear in order to get their focus up while also doing other productive things and having just a general good time with it, because it is very easy and it is very, very low investment. So, as has been usually the case for our new player guides, we are using Nezha. Nezha is just that good. He is extremely accessible. His build is not hard to put together, and it is no forma needed for this build. These are all mods that are really easy to get, with the possible exception of Augur Reach. But I will tell you, if you happen to not have Augur Reach, it's really not going to hurt you at all. You can leave this mod out, and it's not going to be a big deal. It is helpful, though, as in this build, we do use Divine Spears for the mission that we're going to be doing. So, the range definitely isn't going to hurt. But this is a pretty basic build, not too high of a leveling cost here. And, of course, you can also drop Maglev if you don't like the slidiness on Nezha. For me, personally, I use it to get around more quickly. Moving on, weaponry. I am going to be using the Epitaph. I think the Epitaph is a very easy to get weapon that you could extremely easily get as a new player just by running some of your early Visors as Void Storms in Railjack, which is not only going to get you, valuable intrinsics that are going to be a lot of MR for you, but also getting the Epitaph is quite good. This is a weapon that we're using on a Zero Forma budget build, but can fit quite a few mods. This weapon is very powerful. And it can do two things. One, it can apply a lot of status when necessary to enemies and do AoE damage, but its charged shot is also very good at taking out priority targets, both of which are going to be important things for this mission and many missions in general. It's worth noting that you can easily switch this from radiation to corrosive, simply by switching in the heat dual stat instead of this toxin one, but we're using corrosive today because Thrax are weak to it. Moving on, we have the Zorus as usual. The Zorus is just incredible. You get this from the Deadlock Protocol quest, and it is just the best melee weapon for a new player. That might change with the upcoming Reach upgrades that we're going to be getting for regular Reach, but until then, this is pretty much as good as it's going to get for a new player. This is also Zero Forma, and the only mod that I would consider to be difficult to get here is a Volatile Quick Return if you've not really spent a lot of time on Deimos. But very easily, you can just not use this mod, and the build will be essentially the same. If you've got some leftover points, just throw in another elemental. You're going to want to keep yourself on corrosive or switch to radiation, and then you're going to want to add heat afterward on corrosive and probably cold afterward on radiation if you're going to be adding another elemental instead of volatile quick return. And that's going to give you more damage at very little downside, but volatile is quite nice. But yeah, this is very easy to build to put together. We've talked about quite a few different times, and all of this is super simple. Heyo, forgot to add one thing into the build here. I am using a Vulpaphyla. Vulpaphylas are very useful for this because they can strip armor, but they are not necessary for this at all. But if you're doing this content, you've already been to Deimos, so you might as well pick one up because they're like the cheapest, best companions you can get. I'm going to be showing a Panzer, but a Crescent Vulpa is more common and also basically the same, if not better, in certain scenarios. So, Crescent or Panzer, either one, they're both very good. In terms of mods that you'll need, obviously this is also a Zero Forma build, but it has some mods that are hard to level / hard to get in it. So, simple stuff here, you want to use Sharpened Claws, which is the, actual armor removal. Swipe, because it makes it hit more enemies and remove more armor and, a wider range on more dudes. So you want these two. These are just to optimize the armor removal. And you want whatever your Quill's ability is. This will be just like one of your your Vulpa specific abilities. In this case, this is the Panzers. And then your Devolution ability, which is also Vulpa specific. You will immediately get these just by having the Vulpa. So equip those two. They all cost the same. And then Fetch. Fetch is, of course, your vacuum mod for picking up loot and stuff, which is very useful. The other mods in this build, I would highly suggest them. If you have them, definitely use them. Primed Animal Instinct is extremely good. Even regular Animal Instinct is extremely good. Synth Fiber, allowing you to pick up health orbs whenever you want. Tech Assault, making it so that your Vulpa just lives whenever it would otherwise die sometimes. Having more health and making it so that it heals whenever you do melee attacks so that your Vulpa usually won't die, especially in regularly leveled content, is all very good. And this is a zero forma build. Would definitely advise picking this up if you can. Or, of course, the Crescent version of the Vulpa. Anyway, enjoy the run. The farm that we're going to be doing is on the Zariman. Now, that does assume that you are done with the new war. So if you have not gotten to and done the new war yet, the Zariman is after that. But this is by far the best way, I think, for new players and players who don't want to actively farm focus the way that it has been for so long, and do it much more passively while farming the new content for all of the really good new items that are available there. So we are going to be taking, in terms of our operator, some really basic stuff here. In the new war, you get the Sirocco. The Sirocco is super good. It is, well, it's not super good, but it's much, much better than the Moat Amp that a lot of people will be using. And it's going to serve a very good purpose here in terms of just being a good amp that doesn't really need any focus stats in order to be good. We're not running any arcanes on it, although from doing this farm, you're going to be able to get arcanes for it. That'll make it way better, but those are not necessary to start this farm. All it is just the base Sirocco that you get in the new war. Not a big deal. Super simple. You literally are forced to acquire this weapon. In terms of actual focus stuff that I've unlocked everything in focus. I can't turn stuff off anymore, otherwise I would, but I feel like things aren't really going to change very much in terms of how you go at this, depending on how many skills you've unlocked, specifically with the Sirocco. Normally, the thing that kind of makes the difference here is that on Madarai, Eternal Gaze and Inner Gaze, these both will make it so you have like more ammo for your amp, and also it regenerates faster. But for the Sirocco, that really kind of doesn't apply because it's just a regular reloading gun, basically. So we're pretty much going to be just at like raw parity here. I'm not going to be using Madarai's active abilities in order to do tons of damage. Just going to be hanging out on Zeneric for the energy regen, like I feel like most new players should be doing anyway. So with all of that out of the way, what are we doing? We are doing mobile defense. Now, I know that's really weird because usually mobile defense is kind of a nothing mission that has no real rewards and is bad. But mobile defense offers a couple things. One, there are 3 terminals, and at those 3 terminals, they take about a minute each. Each terminal has a seemingly guaranteed 2 Thrax that will spawn at each, which each of those Thrax will give 2,500 focus, meaning you're going to get 15,000 focus just from very regularly doing the objective on mobile defense. The other benefit to this is that you have to be within affinity range of your allies if you decide to do this in a group in order to get the focus from them killing the Thrax. And on mobile defense, it's really easy for you all to stay in the same room where they spawn because they come to the terminal that you're defending, and affinity range is pretty big. So it's very likely that you're all going to get the XP from all of the Thrax, which is nice for consistency. In addition to that, this is very consistently and easily the kind of just same run every time. It's not going to be, needing to have specific frames to kill like a ton of enemies and like a very large exterminate tile set. It's going to be very consistent. You do the 3 terminals, you kill the Thrax that are presented to you, plus the Angel, which we'll be showing how to fight with this loadout, and then you're done. The Angel notably gives an additional 15,000 rep. So you're going to get 30k rep on every single one of these runs, but that's not all. The Angels give the Void Plume Pinions, which is 5,000 rep on the Zariman, and especially in a group, you can do the 2 Melika terminals that always spawn in order to get an additional 5,000 rep, and that's just doing the extremely normal, very regular, this version of the mission that is always available. However, there is a version of this mission that is not always available that we're going to talk about on the Chrysalith. Talking to Quinn, we of course have our bounties. Now, on bounty currently, we have Boost Melika's Morale the Green Way, which is a mobile defense that has the small additional objective of doing one of the Melika terminals, which, as I mentioned, you're going to want to do anyway. This can also be a few different things. Most of the bonus objectives are pretty simple. Looking at some of the other ones, you can have, like, kill 20 enemies as the operator, which is not a big deal for most people. Awaken a dormant void angel and defeat it. This one's really beneficial because you want to do this anyway, and it'll mark where the angel is, which can help you learn the positions where they spawn. And then there are a few other modifiers you can get here and there. The best two are use the Melika terminal, which you want to do anyway, and kill the void angel, which you want to do anyway. Now, it is beneficial at different rates here, because if we look at this top-end one, this is level 110 to 115. It's double the level of the base mission. If you're comfortable doing it, I highly advise it if the mobile defense is here, and also worth noting, the Exterminate is also extremely good. The rewards on these bounties are great, especially for new players, because there's a lot of variety here in terms of stuff that you're going to want in the common and uncommon tables. For example, if you're on the 5th one, 3,000 and 4,000 endo, that's gold for a new player, as you still have tons and tons of mods to level. Not to mention you can get Greater Narmon, Unairu, and Vazarin lenses, or of course, Maturai and Zeneric as well. All of those lenses are just going to help you build more and more focus, and just being able to throw them on any given items that you're using in order to get additional focus while you're still doing this, because you can get like a few thousand extra per lens that you equip, especially the greater ones, just from doing this regularly, is going to further increase how much focus you can get and how quickly you can get it. Obviously, it's not always going to be the 5th bounty for Exterminate or for mobile defense, but additionally, you can get up to 5 of the mid-tier Void Plumes, which add up to an additional 10,000 rep on the 5th one, and an additional 2,000 rep on the 1st one. Which are actually, it's 15,000, because it's a 2,500. It's 15,000 and then 2,500 on the bottom one. That's obviously very good. It's a huge rep boost. So if you have a good bounty up, I'd suggest doing it. It'll also be beneficial because if you're trying to match into a random squad, that's also going to be much more likely, I would say, as people are generally going to want to do the bounties. But for the sake of consistency, we are going to be doing just the very regular version of this mission, which is mid-level at level 50. So if we're just going to head to the Greenway, and this is, of course, solo, so it's going to just naturally be much slower than it would be in a party, especially if you randomly match into a party of experienced players, then things are going to go very, very quickly. But doing it solo is not bad. As Nezha, we're just going to want to, slide on in, have our 3 active for the whole mission, and get to the first terminal. Now, in terms of hunting down for the angels, you're going to want to look at large rooms like this one. The angel can spawn in this room. I'll note if an angel can spawn in a room. In here, you're usually going to see them on this side, either there or over on this end. And it's going to be really obvious. They're giant, of course. We will be fighting them, so you will see them. But yeah, the Thrax will show up pretty much immediately. They are a little, spaced out, but you're going to want to, kill them as quickly as you can by switching to your operator. And one shot with the Sirocco gets us 2,500 focus. Not a problem at all. And we can use the Zorus to clear all these regular enemies that are coming into the room. If we get in trouble, we can just turn on our 4, and that's going to crowd control all of the basic enemies, allowing you to focus on any Eximus or Thrax that have shown up. Also, these mobile defenses are pretty short, so it's not just going to waste your time with a big 3-minute timer. Usually, I would say these missions, if you're going solo, are going to take roughly 7 to 8 minutes. Although, obviously, with me talking and explaining everything, it might take a little bit longer. But yeah, these guys, this is the other kind of Thrax. You're usually going to get 1 of each. Also, just 1 popped with the Sirocco. Like I said, I'm not adding really any damage by just having my focus maxed out because of the choices that I've made. I could add a ton of damage, but I'm choosing not to do so. Because I'm not using any arcanes or any abilities that would increase my damage, so you can expect these exact same results even if you're brand new and just got to this content. Moving on. You also want to watch out for Melika terminals. Melika is pink, bright pink, so you're very likely to see her. She also will talk to you. She might actually be here on our left. These are the terminals. This one's off. The Void Angel can also be in this room. In fact, there they are. You can, in a group, defend the system while fighting the Angel. Going solo, I wouldn't really suggest it, though. It is definitely possible to lose a terminal here. I'm going to do the terminal first and then kill the Angel. But you can do it in really any order that you'd like. You can just leave the mobile defense objective out here. You can see we're using the Epitaph here, which is very effective as they are quite weak to it. That one took us 2 pops, which is not a big deal. One thing you will want to note, especially if you haven't been using the Seer for very long, is that you do need to reload it, so try and find the time to reload it whenever you can, though it's usually not going to be the end of the world if you don't. Oop, missed. Come on, there we go. Throw our 3 back on, use our 4 if we need to in order to crowd control some guys. We can finish them off with our Zorus. Super simple stuff. Yeah, with just Energy Siphon, our energy economy should be good enough here that we shouldn't really have any energy problems, especially with the Xmas giving us 1 energy orb apiece and our efficiency being at max. Alright, we're going to pop the Angel out of their slumber by just heading up to them and interacting. They'll take a minute to turn on, so try and clear out any annoying enemies, such as this Nullifier here, who I don't want to be messing with me during this fight. And we can head back and fight the Angel. Now, with Nezha, you do have just the ability to, well, use the Zorus in addition to using your Operator to, say, knock him out of this attack. Dashing through that bubble will drop them out of it. I've also brought a Vulpaphyla here, which you will want to use a Heat Trap so you can just shoot yourself out of it, which you'll want to use to strip the armor. I will show the build for this in... I should have already shown the build for it. Tell me if I didn't in the comments. And then once you're down a health bar, you can jump inside. Now, because of our low damage, we're not going to be able to do any mechanical skips, which you could do if you had like a much more powerful amp, and that's something definitely to work towards. But just shooting it normally and shooting this attack when it fires it at us, we should be pretty set. It will go into its mechanic that we will have to interact with, which is these golden orbs. You want to just dash through them. Solo, there's only going to be 2, but in a group there will be 4. And these allow you to place these like golden fields, which are going to increase your amp damage, allowing you to get this done much, much faster. As you can see, just chunking through the Void Angel's health. You'll want to make sure you reload, and then we just kind of head back to this phase. This time I am going to use Nezha's 2, as it is an extremely good damage boost for getting through the Angel. And you can see our Vulpaphyla just stripped the armor there on the Void Angel, which increased our damage massively. Then kind of the same deal in here. Pretty much just give them the old shoot. Especially at this level. On higher difficulties of bounties, you're going to have to do a lot more dodging probably, especially as a new player. But on this base level, he's pretty simple to take care of. There we go. Only have to do 2 rounds of the kind of like, I suppose, inside of the Void Angel. And then we can head back out and finish him off. We'll want to get rid of that. And grab our reward, Void Plume Pinion. So then after that, we're of course going to have to go back to the old data mass and do our last terminal. Yeah, pretty simple so far. We haven't seen our Melika yet. I spoke too soon. We have our Melika here. So, usually the way Melika works, just to explain, usually her key is within 1 tile of her. So, thinking about that, you'll learn these spawns over time, and a lot of cases, if you're running this with the team, they're just going to know where they are. But for example, there are key spawns in this room that can pop up. But I doubt they have. They can also be like kind of like the furthest away they can usually be is kind of like over here in a room like this. Any more distance than that is usually not going to happen. There's also a very distinct hum that they make. So if you keep an ear out, you should be able to find them fairly easily. Looks like it's not in this room. to be behind those crates, but you'll be able to hear it. And then we're just going to check upstairs before we head forward in this side room. And this is the distinct hum that they make. This is just sitting up on here. We're going to drop our data mask so we can get Melika's reward really quickly. Obviously, in a group, someone would already be moving on and doing the mobile defense, like an actual objective at this point. Or if you were the one carrying the data mask to the next point, you should just keep doing that and have someone else do the Melika station in order to, you know, increase your efficiency massively. But solo, I think it is worth taking a moment to just do that. Unless you're doing like the 5th bounty, then just doing the angel, doing the terminals, and getting out can be more than fine.
Okay, scrubbing the system.
Have our Thrax. Thrax number 5. Getting rid of these Maximus.
Nearly done. Keep defending, please.
And that's our 6th Thrax. And this is, again, with hyper budget builds. Of course, you can kill these enemies much, much faster, but we're using, like, you know, Zero Forma on the whole loadout and everything else here. This is also notably another room where the angel can spawn. Usually your angel is going to be in one of the mobile defense rooms that they assign you. So, yeah. It can be worth noting, it's usually at the, like, front of the amphitheater here or behind it. I don't actually think I've ever seen it be on this side where the terminal spawns. And then, the moment you're done, we didn't see a second Melika terminal, but in a, you know, if you're solo, just do whichever ones you see. In a squad, you'll probably get all of them regardless. And then, whenever the portal spawns, which it will spawn in the exact same room, just head to the end. Yeah, that took us about 8.5 minutes-ish, but about a minute of that was me just explaining stuff, I would say. And especially if you're going to be doing this over and over, you're going to get more and more used to it and going fast. And you can see at the mission rewards here, that 30k that we got for the mission. So if you are, like, say, like an MR10 plus player, you should have about 300k each day to get in terms of your focus cap, which is going to translate to like roughly an hour of doing this mission. But that is assuming you are doing this alone. If you are doing this in a squad, this mission can very easily be done in 3 minutes, which is, or well, realistically, it's 4 minutes, and you can do exterminates in 2 minutes if you're extremely, you know, used to it and are going as fast as possible and using super high-end gear, which means you can get this focus done really quickly. And you can see from the few lenses that I have, which I believe are just regular ones that are non-Xeneric lenses. I don't have any Xeneric lenses equipped. We have the 30k from this, and then we have like an extra 500 for some just regular lenses that we've thrown on, and that's just from the enemies that we killed. But yeah, it's an extremely good way to get a lot of early focus, especially even if you just want to max out that energy gain from on Xeneric. You don't need focus skills in order to do this, like you would for, say, Eidolons. You would really want to have like Void Strike and all this other stuff. And this can help you just build up a base of focus with needing very little operator gameplay and well, literally no operator gear besides the Sirocco, which is actively given to you in the quest. But yeah, that's how to farm just some like really new player friendly focus, especially if you didn't like any of the traditional ways to farm focus. It is worth noting you will need to farm focus with lenses in order to initially unlock schools you did not start with, as you can't get focus this way with schools you've not already unlocked, because you do have to be on that school in order to get the focus. But after that initial burst, you can use it and just get all of your focus this way and not have to deal with the lens system or getting specific lenses and Lua lenses and all this nonsense. It can all just be ignored. Yeah, that's going to do it. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video and found it helpful, and I'll see you tomorrow. Also, hey everyone, we have a new outro. So, sorry this has taken a little while to get going for those of you that are over on the Patreon, but thank you so much to all of the $10+ patrons. Brutus, Salazar, Dylan Dworsky, Ephrain, Jeremy Stevens, Joshua Adams, Malik X. Williams, Mitchta, Trent Hallmark, Victor, and Zach Zahner. Thank you very much for being $10 patrons. And also, thank you very much to just all the patrons in general. It's been really awesome to try and get this big website stuff off the ground. And I hope you guys continue to support me and are enjoying the content that is going up there, including this video. So yeah, it's been a fantastic time so far, and hopefully we can just keep it going. Have a good one, everybody. Hopefully you guys enjoy the new outro as well. I think it came out pretty nice. And that should do it. Later, all.